welcome everybody to our April 2025 Google User Group meeting for Ohio. This is our GEG Ohio meeting, typically a monthly meeting where we take a look at everything new in Google from the last month and how it can help us in schools for teaching and learning. A little bit of housekeeping before we dive on into the meeting. As usual, we'll start off with some quick introductions. Hi, my name is Eric. I work at the Stark County Educational Service Center, specifically at Spark, the ITC that is associated with that ESC. We serve about 35 or 40 school districts up here in Northeast Ohio. I'm joined today by John. Why don't you introduce yourself, John?
I am John, and I work in Northwest Ohio, and we also work with about 40 school districts up in the northwest corner around the Ohio city of Toledo.
Fantastic. I'm going to be in Toledo Thursday for the AI Summit. So I'll be heading your way. That's fantastic. A little more housekeeping besides our introductions. We want to make sure that you guys can all say hi. So in the chat, feel free to do so. I see a lot of people saying hi in there. We've seen folks already from all around Ohio, but outside of Ohio as well. I see New York. I see Canada. We've got India showing up as well. So this is an international gathering here today. And even though this is GEG Ohio, really we do open this up to anybody around the world. As long as you have an interest in using Google tools in education, you are welcome here. Thanks so much for joining us today. Whether you're joining live or if you're watching the recording later, that's fantastic as well. I just appreciate you taking the time to learn with us. To get the most out of this meeting, I would encourage you to pull up the resource document that you see on the screen here. Now, I did drop that link into the chat. So if you check the YouTube chat, you should see it there. But you can always just go to our bit.ly link that you see here, and that'll get you there as well. bit.ly/GEG Ohio. That'll take you to the GEG Ohio website. And then from that website, we do have a monthly meetings section. And from there, you will see a Google spreadsheet with all of the different meetings, including today, April 29th. You'll see the link to the agenda, the live video, etc. So that will allow you to much more easily participate in what we're doing. This document is set to be editable by anybody who's a member of our GEG community. If you're not a member, you can leave comments on the document. So either way, you can contribute to it. There's a couple of key places you might want to do that. For example, the upcoming events tab is a great place to add things in if you have some conferences or some trainings you're aware of that people would benefit from. There's also a section called Show and Tell further down in the document, in which there's a community show and tell section. You are absolutely encouraged to add resources to that of anything awesome you've come across recently that you think would be beneficial to share with the group. And there's also a Q&A section. If you've got any questions, which we definitely have some here today, feel free to add to the Q&A tab, either adding some questions or some answers as well. And all throughout the session, please drop things into the chat. Between John and I, we'll do our best to keep an eye on that and address the questions that come up. Awesome. Very good. Well, let's go ahead and get on into this and start heading down through some of these early tabs. We've done the welcome and introductions. I will draw attention to the important links tab. This is where you're going to want to sign in for our meeting today. You'll notice there's a bit.ly link there that goes out to a Google form, and that allows you to be able to record your attendance for being in this meeting today. Sometime between now and the next meeting, I will then generate some PDFs and send those out so you have a record of your attendance if you're turning this in for professional development credit and such. So feel free to either now or later at any point during the session, go ahead and get that filled in. The next tab I'll draw attention to is the group updates tab. Just a reminder that we do have a Google group and an email group to stay in touch in between these meetings. So if you haven't joined that group yet, take a moment when you get some time. The the instructions are there on how to do that. I believe we are over 1,700 members now in that group. So it's a fantastic way to, send an email, to ask a question or share a resource or connect with others. If you've got things that you want to chat about during all the times in between our meetings. All right, next up, we've got a tab called Upcoming Events. Some of these are a little bit more Ohio specific, but others do apply all around. We won't go through every single thing here, but would like to mention a couple of quick things. The first two actually would apply to anybody. So the first two are some webinars that are coming up. So I am doing two webinars. In the next couple of weeks here. I'm doing one on Chromebooks, and I'm doing one on what's new with Google as far as AI is concerned. So this first one, what's new with Chromebooks, this is one that is being put on by Trafera, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And they are going to be hosting this one, and I'll be chatting all about Chromebooks and all the awesome things that they can do. If you have Chromebooks in your school, you might not be making the most use out of them that you possibly can. This is a great session to learn all of the ins and outs and special features that make Chromebooks so useful in a school setting. The other one is being hosted by FETC. So I'll be at the FETC conference again this year, as I typically am, but in the meantime, they do run webinars every now and then, and Jen Womble from FETC is hosting this one. I'm being joined by Monica Burns and Rob Dixon, and we'll be talking about some of the latest and greatest things with AI advances. My focus is on all of the new Google AI updates. So this will be a great way to catch up on those, whereas Monica is going to be talking about ChatGPT and Rob's going to be talking about Canva. So both of these are free, and you're absolutely welcome to sign up for those. Outside of those two upcoming webinars, a couple other things to give a quick shout out to. Don't forget that Google I/O is in late May. This is when Google announces a lot of their new products and features. I always just watch that virtually. They stream that live on YouTube, so you can watch at least the keynote and catch a lot of the new things that they're rolling out, which is awesome. A couple other conferences on the horizon: the Create Conference in early June in the Toledo area, the High Impact Conference for Educators. That is the one that we put on at the Stark County Educational Service Center. My awesome colleague, Matt Mays, who is with us here today, I did see Matt say hi, does so much work in creating and maintaining this conference. I will be presenting at this one as well. This one is a free conference that is on June 10th and 11th. It is an in-person conference, so you do need to come in person, but hey, it's worth the drive. Come on over. We're opening our registration on May 5th, but there is a link here to preview all of the different sessions. There's a just amazing list of sessions that are going to be available from so many awesome educators. This is just a great, great two-day conference. So I'd encourage you, if you can attend, to do so. And of course, we've got ISTE coming up shortly after that, at the end of June. I do have a link to all the sessions that I'm doing at the moment there at ISTE. But more importantly, I'd like to point you toward our sharing document, which if you are attending ISTE, this is something I do every year. This is a document that you can go into and add your own information. For example, if you're an attendee, you can come here and put yourself on the attendee list so you can see who else is attending and you can connect with people. If you're presenting sessions, you can add your sessions here to promote those. But probably what most people come here for is the tab called Mixers, Events, and Meetups. This is a great way to find out what's happening each evening. And so this is usually what gets really busy as we get closer. This will flesh out a lot more. It's a great way to find, what dinners and events and meetups are going on, so that you can fill your evenings with all of those awesome activities there. But there's also a tab for, what's good to do in that area, questions you might have. And I do have tabs for different topics. So as you are going to your sessions, if you learn something awesome about AI or about Apple products or assistive tech or or AR or, whatever you come across, you can drop those resources into here. And so basically it's just going to be this wonderful shared document of everybody's learning all throughout ISTE. If you're not able to attend ISTE, this is kind of a way to still at least participate through the learning resources as people share things in there. That'll be a great way to pick up those resources. Now, speaking though of ISTE and speaking of events, we are so excited to have our 3rd annual board game meetup happening at ISTE this year. So if you are interested in attending that, I've added the link in there for our board game meetup. This year it's going to be on Sunday night, which is how it was last year as well. Sunday seems to be a great time to kick this off. 6 p.m. to 11. You can come and go all throughout the evening, whatever works for you. Don't feel like you need to stay the whole time. And it is free. We're going to have a large amount of games to play, but you're encouraged to bring your own games as well, and some casual food and drinks will be provided. Thanks so much to the amazing sponsors that pay for all of this to make it possible. I would encourage you to register if this sounds like something fun to do. I think it's a great way to kick off ISTE, to connect with others in an environment that's not terribly loud. You can actually have conversations, have a good time, whether it's a casual game or something a little more serious. It's just a wonderful way to start off the conference and connect with folks. So please feel free to sign up for that. That way we can keep you in the loop on everything that's happening with that. And I think lastly, in this section, we've got the GTech Summit, which is August 5th. Call for proposals is open for that. And as I mentioned to John just a few moments ago about being in Toledo coming up this week, we do have a series of 5 AI summits going on around the state. I'm going to be at each one of those. And so if you have not yet signed up for one and you're interested in maybe attending the 4 that are still remaining, the registration form is here. It is free for all Ohio educators, and they've tried to spread them out around the state to make it easier for people to attend those. All right. Wow. That's a lot of stuff. I said I wouldn't do them all, but we kind of did. I see Matt has mentioned that we're going to have food trucks at the HEIST conference. So yes, that is always a great thing. We have such wonderful food trucks that come with just absolutely fantastic options to choose from. So great stuff there. John, anything I missed on any of the upcoming events or anything else introduction? We're about ready to pop over to our main content here, but anything that we've missed so far? And if not, that's okay. Oops, I think you're muted there, John.
I said it's been quiet in the chat room. Everyone's just taking it all in.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, folks, again, thank you so much for being here. We're now going to move into the main portion of our meeting where we talk about what is new in Google from the last month. Now, there are 2 different tabs where we have this content. The first one is a chronological listing of what is new. So if you want to see from the newest to the oldest new content, the other tab is by topic. I'm going to use the by topic going forward. We tried this out last month. It seemed to work a lot better because it's a little more consistent. We're not jumping from topic to topic. We're staying within one topic for a while. So I'm going to be going down the list on the by topic tab, and hopefully that works for you guys as well. I'm not going to go through every single one of these updates because there are just so many, but the ones where you see that I have bolded the date, that will let you know that that's one of the ones that I thought was good to chat about here today. Now, if we've skipped over something that you're interested in, let us know. Drop something in the chat or leave a comment in the document. And as we go through this, if you have questions about any of these things, we may not have the answer, but we'll try. Please feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat as we work down through these. All right, well, let's get on into what's new in Google since our last meeting. There are some in the general category. I'm going to skip over those, but those are all available for you. Please do check those out, as well as the Google search category too. I'm actually going to start off with the Google Arts and Culture section here because I'm just a big fan of Google Arts and Culture. I always love the site. I love the content that gets created there. So many amazing things. And again, if you're not familiar with it, it's not just art. I mean, I don't want to, make you think, oh, this is a site for art teachers. Absolutely, art teachers can use it, but it's arts and culture. It applies to everybody. There's something in here that applies to social studies and language arts and science and math and everything, because culture applies to all subject areas. Well, they've rolled out a couple of new experiments, some neat tools, and we're going to take a quick look at just a couple of them. I won't spend much time on these. The first one is they rolled out some new experiments from their artists in residence. So they have some folks who have been working on creating some new interactive tools. And if you follow this blog post, you'll see they mentioned several of those, like the Hotspots tool, Sparky and Learning Light, as well as the podcast tool. Just to keep this really simple, I'm going to go ahead and click on Sparky. This is one I have played around with, and it's also the name of my cat. So how can I not? And I work at Spark, so I guess it all ties in. So, but this one's about invention. So if you're happening to do something with your students where they're learning about inventors or inventions, or if you're trying to pull some examples into a STEM type class or a STEAM type class, this is an interesting one where basically what you do is you decide you want to invent something to help with food, with music, or with travel. And so you decide on your category. I'll just choose food since it's the first one there. And then the idea is what you're going to do is you're going to pick two objects to add together to create a new gadget that in this case is going to help you eat food. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe we're going to come in here and say, sure, let's have a fan, and then let's also have maybe a balloon, and so maybe those are the two things that we're going to use together. And then we have to describe at the bottom how those help us eat our food. So a fan with balloons, that does what? So maybe it launches, let's say it launches we'll do some quick snacks. So let's say that's what it does. We can now click Create Invention, and basically Google's AI is going to say, okay, how on earth would a fan and some balloons launch some quick snacks? Now that one's not as odd as some combinations. You can really put some strange combinations together. This one will probably be a little bit more straightforward, but there it is. And so it has now created the Snack-a-Launch 3000. So there's a fan on it, there's balloons at the top, and now it explains how this particular thing works. It looks like you fill in some snacks here, and then the balloons make it fly, and the fan makes it move, and there you go. So, and you get the idea. And so this can be a neat way to spark some imagination and try out some creative ways to combine some objects. This could be a good beginning point, and then the students could run with this themselves as they have to pick two objects to put together and create something with. So just be aware, those are some new ones that just came out. And then the second one here, I'll just mention really quick, they have a new experience called Worldwide Wood, which is just all about trees. So if you're a science teacher and you're doing anything that deals with trees, well, they got you covered. I will not even go into depth on this because there's just so much here, but this is a massive collection of resources that all deal with trees. So we can head on over to the Worldwide Wood link here. And as you see, they have just so much content, an option to explore over 30,000 species of trees. And then on down the line, you can just get into all of these different experiences. So they got all of these interactive learning tools that can give you 3D models of trees, can just, allow you to explore so much about them. So again, arts and culture is just filled with that kind of stuff. That's what it's all about. And so there's a couple of new ones there, which I think are pretty slick there. All right. Excellent. Let's keep on moving. What's our next category? Google Docs. Okay. So again, there's a lot of things with Docs. I picked one of them. What did I pick? I picked the one that Google Workspace is adding some new AI tools to Docs, but also Sheets and Chat and more. This was one that I wasn't sure exactly what category to put it in because it kind of spanned a few, but I just put it in Docs because I figured, well, that would be safe and simple. So let's pop this one open. Now, here's the thing. Be aware, this one, Not everything listed here is coming to every different tier. And I will mention that really quick when it comes to tiers. That's what these icons, these emojis are for. Anytime you see one of these um, entries, I did put these emojis next to there to try to indicate which tiers would get access to these. There's the free version of Google Workspace for Education, which is fundamentals. Then there's the paid version, standard, teaching and learning, and plus. Then there's the additional Gemini add-on. Now, I did put all the emojis here because some of these are coming to all the tiers. Some of them aren't. This is just a really big article that covers so much. I just don't want to be misleading there. Be aware that some of the things are going to be a little bit more limited as they do start rolling out. With that in mind, though, let's just touch on a few things I found there that I thought were neat. And again, I'm not going through all of these. There's a lot listed. And this one is more focused. This article is more focused on the business use, not so much the education use. So it's got a little bit more of a business slant to it. But the point is, there's some cool stuff coming up, and I just wanted to show these off. So one of the things that caught my attention right away was a new audio feature that's working its way out to docs eventually. It's claiming that it's going to be coming out in alpha in the coming weeks. So again, I don't know. This might not be something that gets to education soon. It may start with business and eventually get to education. Sometimes things never make it to education. They only go to business. So again, I apologize ahead of time. I can't say for sure which of these tools will all make it to which different tier, but this is really cool. So it's a new audio feature in Google Docs that allows you to generate two different types of audio. Now, there's a little video here, but it goes really fast. So what I did, I actually did a screen capture. Here, let me pull it over and see if this helps. I mean, I did a screen capture to grab what's going on in there because it goes too quick. But what they're showing is that in Google Docs, you're going to be able to click insert and there's going to be an audio feature. Now, first of all, that's awesome. That's great because we've had insert audio in Google Slides. The fact that we're going to get insert audio in Google Docs, that's fantastic. And then it gives two options here. One is create an audio overview of the tab and the other is listen to the tab. So what that means is if I clicked like make an audio overview, AI would read everything in the document and create an audio summary of it. If I said listen to this tab, it would basically do a text-to-speech generation of all the text in there. It would make an audio version of the text being read aloud. After you do that, it then generates it and it drops a little button into your document so that somebody could click on that button to either listen to, in this case, the overview, or if you had it do the whole dictation or the whole transcription where it reads it all aloud. So pretty neat. I could see that being really beneficial, especially to support students, that a student could open up a document and automatically you could have embedded the entire document being read aloud, or you could have embedded a summary of the document. Again, don't know how soon we may or may not get that. They are, again, just starting to mention this new tool here, this new feature, but it caught my eye and that sounded really interesting. A few other ones they mentioned, they talked about how, now this one would definitely be for the AI group here, where it talks about they're going to be adding Help Me Refine to Docs. Right now, if you pay for the Gemini add-on, you get the Help Me Write feature inside of Google Docs. They're now saying they're going to be rolling out a new addition to that, which is the Help Me Refine, which is going to then read through your document and give you suggestions on how to improve it. So that's nice. Same thing with Google Sheets. There's going to be a Help Me Analyze feature as part of the AI upgrade in Google Sheets, where it can analyze your data. Oh, and if you're using Google Vids, and again, this would be with the AI update, the ability to now generate video inside of Google Vids rather than just pulling from the stock videos that are in there, being able to use the VO2 model to describe the video you want, and then the AI will generate it for you. That definitely, though, would be requiring the AI update. So some of these do, some of them don't. But out of all of that, I'm really excited about this one right here, the audio features and docs. I think that could be a really good support for our students. So wanted to get that on your radar. Keep an eye out and let's see which of those things get to us in education and when they get to us. All right, good stuff. Anything popping up yet, John, that we need to address? And feel free just at any point to holler at me if
It's so
such.
quiet in the chat, Eric. It's
All right, no worries, no
before
worries at all.
I was going to comment. I think the audio interactions with AI is the new kind of frontier that they are going to be pushing. And I know School AI had talked about Dot, their chatbot that
Yes.
young students can interact with. So
Yes.
I just feel like I've had some interactions with like using the chat GPT on my phone and just asking it conversationally questions. And it's really quite an engaging way to sort of get an answer to something without having to do a Google search or
Absolutely.
or do something else. Now, obviously you've got to check the if the information is correct, but it's sometimes like when I'm driving, I just have this burning question I want to answer, and Siri really isn't that much help when you're driving, but ChatGPT will have a nice little conversation with you.
Absolutely.
So I think that the ways that we will interact with AI, this is just the beginning of the changing of that. It's not going to be typing in a text box anymore. It's going to be audio, and it's going to be well, who knows? They've got the neural link. I guess there was the third guy that's got the neural link just got announced that he was typing a post on social media. I think I saw it yesterday. So we've got the third person that's got a neural link connection.
Well, I guarantee you, I will not be one of the first people to sign up for that. I'll just stick with my regular interfaces for now. I think that's no thanks. But no, that's fantastic. All right. Well, hey, let's keep on rolling. Again, John, holler at me at any point if questions come up. The next category is what's new with Google Slides. Again, several new things, but there's a couple that I thought were worth mentioning. One of them is this new sidebar that is rolling out. Now, I will say, it still has not rolled out to all of my accounts yet. So I haven't figured that out. Like it made it sound like it should have by now. When I look at like the dates here, it was talking about how it was going to start rolling out at the end of March. The extended rollout would be, starting in April. I still only see it on some of my accounts. Like if I go on this account and I pull up Google Slides, I don't see the new sidebar over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over a Google slide from a different account. And again, I'm not sure exactly why that's the case, but in this case, you can see over here this new sidebar. And I want to talk about what all is included in this new sidebar here. Now, if you go to Google Slides and if you see this sidebar, you might not see all of the same buttons that I have over here. Some of the buttons are specific to different tiers and things like that. Let's start with something that everybody will have. So this larger collection of 4 buttons, everybody's getting this. Free, paid, it does not matter. Everybody gets this. And this is basically going to be your content bar here on the side. So what's included in it? So first of all, there's templates. You can click on there, and that's where you're going to find all of the templates that are available from Google for you to use and incorporate. Now, by templates, what I mean is you can click on any one of these. So I could come in here and I could say, hey, let's, click on this one called Classic Lesson. And then what it will do is it will give me all of the individual slides that would go into such a lesson. And then I can just use whichever ones I want. I can either add the entire set, or I can just go into, you know what? I like this one right here. Let's add that particular one. So I could just click on a single, slide in there. And then of course it's just a template. So you're going to fill in your own text. You're going to replace the images, but it's giving you that structure. And so that is going to be the first button there. That is the a collection of dozens and dozens of high quality templates there. The next button down in there is what they're calling building blocks. Now, this is really slick as well. I know we mentioned this earlier, but this is where you'll find it. This is where you have elements, not an entire slide, but an element to go on a slide. So whether it's agendas, lists, quotes, headlines, call outs, badges, phrases, calls to action. The point is I can come in here and say, oh yeah, let's go to the agendas collection here. And I can find any one of these that I like, give a click on it, and drop that element onto my slide. And now I can just edit the individual pieces of that element as needed. So this is wonderful. There is so much content in here. I think about, things like, badges could be a great way to give students a thumbs up on their work. There's probably others that would lend themselves to that as well under collaboration. You can see some thumbs up and things like that. So this is just a really easy way to be able to generate to add content like that to your slides. The next button down is what they're calling stock and web. And so basically, this is what used to be if you went to the insert image option, you would say, oh, I want to search the web. That's going to get you to the stock and web button over here. And basically, it allows you to search for content, and you can look for images, animated GIFs, stickers. You can do a Google image search or a stock image search. So if I just came in here and just typed in the word cat, I'm going to have stock images of cats. I'm going to have GIFs of cats, stickers of cats, and then a Google image search of cats as well. And of course, any of these I can just easily add in to my slideshow as well. And then the final button in that main bar there is your Drive and Photos. So this will be an access to your Google Drive and your Google Photos if you're wanting to quickly grab something from your Drive or Photos. So everybody would have access to those. And I think that's fantastic. Templates, and then building blocks, and then stock and web, and then your own Drive and Photos. Now, beyond that, if you have, and I'm trying to remember which level. I apologize. This might be Teaching and Learning and Plus. I'm trying to remember where they dropped that in, but the ability to record your slideshows. So this is a separate little toolbar at the bottom. This is the button that allows you to do a recording of your slideshow. And this other one allows you to drop in what's called the speaker spotlight. That's where you can say, hey, I want to drop into here a little spot where my webcam would show up while I'm doing the recording of the slideshow, so you can see me talking while I'm doing it. But I believe that is definitely one of the paid tiers. I'm sorry, I don't recall which paid tier gets you to that. And then the other button here at the very top is also a paid option. That's if you're using the Gemini add-on. That's the generate an image. That's where you go in and you describe, the picture you want, a cat on a skateboard. And yes, I misspelled the word cat. How did I do that? That seems strange. And there we go. And of course, I can pick a style here. We'll say we want some vector art of a cat on a skateboard. Now that, again, this button is only going to be available if you have that paid upgrade for the Gemini add-on. But nevertheless, you should have something over here on the right-hand side, whether it's just the core elements, the ability to record, and maybe even the option to generate. And that's what we got here. So let's go ahead and add in one of our cats on a skateboard. Looking good, buddy. Love it. There he is. Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, you get the idea. So again, not positive why that hasn't rolled out to all of my accounts yet, but nevertheless, it is showing up on some and seems to be very valuable. Keith had asked oops, sorry about that, Keith. There we go. Keith said, how do you get to the sidebar again? Well, that's the thing. You don't get to it. It's just there. So it's either there or it's not there. And so on this one account that I've got, the sidebar is just there. If I go to Google Slides, it's there. Now I can, I don't really do anything maybe there might be an option to hide it. I guess I could probably look up here and there's probably, there's if I look long enough, I might find some way to be able to hide it away. But no, it just automatically showed up there. Whereas when I went to my other account, like I said, when I pulled up Google Slides on my other account, it's just not there. I mean, there's no sidebar over here for that. And if I go to insert image, I don't get the stock and web option yet. That's probably the easiest way to tell. If it has not rolled out to your account yet, this new sidebar, probably the quickest way to tell is go to insert, go to image, and if it says search the web, you don't have the new sidebar yet, because that's the old-fashioned image search. Where instead, if you come here and you go insert image and it says stock and web, then yes, you have the new sidebar. So apologies that I don't know why it's not showing up for everybody yet. And again, I'm seeing the same thing on some of my different accounts there. Yeah. All right. Speaking of which, we won't go into depth on this one, but this is basically a follow-up to the first one, and that is that they're adding more templates into that template button. So earlier this year, they had rolled out a whole bunch of templates. They're saying their second wave of templates are being added. I don't think I've seen them yet. The ones that I just looked at seemed familiar, so I don't know that they've added the new ones in yet, but they said they're in the process of rolling out these new additional templates to flesh that out even further. All right, good stuff. All right, excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, let's keep on going. Couple of things for vids, but we'll skip over that. The next batch, actually, there's a lot of Classroom. It was a busy month for Google Classroom. Now, some of these are for everybody. Some of these are just for teaching and learning. Some of these are just for the Gemini upgrade. So be aware it's a mixed bag as to what is and isn't available with Classroom. But I'm going to try to hit each of these really quick for you guys so you can see what these new updates are for Classroom. Now, two of them deal with read along. So I'll probably do both of those together. So the first one with read along is that you can now add your own content to it. Now, if you're not familiar with read along, this is a feature in Google Classroom that is for teaching and learning in Plus. And what it does is it allows you to assign leveled books to your students. Your books then, your students then go in and they read the story. And while they read it, the AI-powered tool monitors their reading and sees, do they mispronounce words? How quickly do they read? How accurately do they read? So it monitors their fluency and their reading speed and so forth. If they get stuck, it helps them sound out words, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is fantastic for early readers, for you to give them content, for them to read the content, for the AI to assess their fluency and report all of that to you as the teacher. Well, the new feature is you can now add your own content to it. They had about 1,000 books built in, which is great. 1,000 is a lot, but what if you wanted more? And what if you wanted something very specific? You can now add your own. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So I'm going to pull over this other account that doesn't have any real kids or anything in it. This is just a pretend one with just some pretend students here. These are not real students here. If I were to come in here, let's say I wanted to create an assignment and I wanted to do a read along assignment, I could click on read along. There we go. Once it pulls up read along, you'll see I can select again from all of, well, it wasn't quite 1,000, but 777 leveled books. So I could have picked from almost 800 leveled readers, and I could pick any one of these and add them in. Here's the new button here where it says create. I can click create, and now I can put in a title and I can add my own story. So this allows you now to have an unlimited amount of stories that you want your students to read, whether you're writing the story, whether you're copying it from somewhere else, whether you're having AI generate the story. Tell AI, I want it at this reading level, et cetera, et cetera. I want it on this topic, and then just copy and paste it in. So now this really opens up what you can do with the read along feature, since you're not limited to just the 777 books that it originally had. Now, speaking of read along, though, there was a second update. So let's hit the second update, and that's introducing silent reading mode. So typically, read along is designed to have the student read the book aloud, like literally reading it aloud, and the microphone picks up their voice and the AI monitors as they read. Well, they realized that's fantastic. That's the optimal thing. But what if? What if this was something that was too distracting? What if the student needs to do read along, but they need to do it in the middle of a class with other students around? What if we gave another option? That's what they're doing now. They're now giving you the option to turn on silent mode. Well, what that means is the student is still going to read the story, but they're not going to read it aloud. So it cannot monitor fluency and speed. It's not going to be able to monitor that stuff. But what it can monitor is comprehension. So after the student reads silently to themselves, they can then answer questions based on it, which they do normally anyway. It can still do that. It can still do this though too. It can also give assistance. Like if they're wearing headphones, the AI can give them assistance with unknown words as they're reading. How does this work? Well, basically you just go in and you pick the book, either create the book or select the book. And when you get ready to assign this, you come up here to the top and you'll see the options include read aloud or silent reading. And again, it makes it very clear. Silent reading is only comprehension, where reading aloud is comprehension as well as accuracy, phonics, words needing practice, other metrics, and so forth. So anyway, so if you do have access to that, some awesome new features have been added in to that. While we're on Classroom, though, let's see what else new got rolled out here. How about this? Using Gemini in Classroom to generate questions or a quiz based on a specific text. Now, this one is just for the Gemini upgrade. You have to have the Gemini upgrade for this, but here's the idea. If you're in Google Classroom, and you have the Gemini upgrade, you will see it over here on the left-hand side. It'll say Gemini Education on the left. If you click on that, that'll bring up the screen where you get access to the AI tools that are embedded into Google Classroom. Now, when Google first rolled this out, they only had like 6 tools. They're up to 12. So they have doubled the amount of tools. So it's not quite going to rival, Magic School or Teacher Server or something like that. But it's starting to grow. It is starting to grow. Now we've got things like lesson plan, quizzes, releveling text, stories, vocabulary lists, misconceptions. Well, the new one that they were just mentioning is this one here, generating text-dependent questions. There's other new ones as well, brainstorming, writing an informational text, building a choice board, creating a rubric. But this is the one that article was talking about. So I'm going to mention this one. So basically what you do is you come in and you either upload from your drive a text or you paste in a text. I'm going to paste in a text just to keep this really simple. I've got my classic Boston Tea Party blurb that I use. So I'm just going to paste in my Boston Tea Party blurb there. Now notice that's only 2,000 words out of 130,000 words it'll take. So you can paste in a lot of text. It can be a really big reading passage. But then basically you come up here and say, what's the grade level? How many questions do you want? What kind of questions? Multiple choice, open-ended, short response, extended response, and what are the key skills that you're trying to accomplish? Now, this is, again, text dependent, meaning it's going to reference very specific phrases and sentences and see if the student can draw conclusions from those. So I might say we're working on making inferences, for example, and that's it. At that point, I click Generate Questions. It's going to read that content. And in this case, it's going to make 3 multiple choice questions appropriate for grade 8 that focus on making inferences. Here are the 3 they came up with. If I like those, fantastic. I can come down here to the export option, send that to Docs or send that to Forms. If I send it to Forms, it will build the Google form for me. And there it is. So they would have, their text that I based it on. And of course, I could put the whole text. I could go and I could paste the whole text into there if I want to, or maybe it's an article that the students are reading and I've just copied and pasted it. But now that the students have read it, they would now come in and they would, for each of these, say, well, when it says this, what does that really mean? And they would have their choices here to pick from. So that's nice. They're definitely improving this. This is getting fleshed out a lot more than it was at the beginning. All right. And then I think I've still got 2 more classroom things. What was the next one? Bulk grading, being able to do that on the student grading page. So bulk grading isn't new. We actually had bulk grading roll out recently. I think back in January, bulk grading was available, but it was only on the gradebook page. They have now made bulk grading available from the student work page. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is if I go back into my demo class and I go to my classwork and I pick one of my assignments, this is the student work page where I can see all of my students' work there. If I select all of my students, or as many as I want, I now have this drop down that includes bulk grade. And this allows me to assign a grade to all of the students at once from a nice convenient page here, which is helpful. So that is good. All right. And that's for everybody. That one everybody gets. So that's including the free users as well. And then the last one is student groups. Again, not a new thing. We've had student groups for a while. They're only for teaching and learning and plus, but they've added some new capabilities related to student groups. The new capabilities are after you have created a student group, you can now email that group. You can sort by that group. And you can also edit the group when creating an assignment. So again, basically what that means is if I'm on the people page here of my, let's go back to my class. If I'm on the people page, if I go to my groups, I can see that, for example, group 1 has these 3 students in it. Group 2 has these 2 students in it. The 3 dots button now lets me email the group. So I can send a message just to that group. And as we mentioned, if I'm in the middle of creating an assignment, and I go to say, I want to assign this not to all my students, but just to a particular group, I now have the option here to edit the group on the fly. If I realized, oh no, I forgot to add somebody to it, you can do that from there. You don't have to do it on the people page. So again, whole bunch of classroom stuff. Wow, it was a busy, busy month for Google Classroom, but those are some quick updates there. Let me pause for a second. We've got some more stuff coming up, but John, anything going on that I may have missed?
Nope. It's like I said, it's really quiet in chat.
No worries. Excellent. Just want to double check. All right. Well, then let's head into our next category. I am skipping over the YouTube stuff. Good stuff there. Take a look at it if you're interested in YouTube Shorts or other things like that. That's all available there. But let's move into our final sections of what's new, where we've got a section on NotebookLM and a section on Gemini. So very AI focused here at the end. All right. So NotebookLM, what's new with that? So the big new feature of NotebookLM is something called Discover Sources getting added into this. So let's chat a little bit about NotebookLM. Now, I'm not going to go through it all over again because you guys have seen me talk about NotebookLM many times. And I'm sure you have used it now many times. But for those who haven't, very quickly, NotebookLM is the tool from Google that allows you to add your own sources and then chat about your sources. So it's basically you're talking to Gemini. It is a Gemini chat, but you're talking to Gemini about the sources that you have added into the notebook. So it allows you to have a very focused conversation. A lot of times in education, we would encourage you to do this by uploading, for example, all of your slideshows for the current unit, or uploading your study guides for the unit, or adding in web articles that relate to what you're covering in your unit, and then having a chat where you generate, questions or study guides or things based off of that. Okay, well, what's new? Here's the new thing. When you click on the add button to add new content to your notebook, That's still like it used to be. You can still do all the normal things. You can upload files, you can upload PDFs, you can grab things from your drive, your docs, your slides, you can put websites, you can put YouTube videos, you can paste text in. Here's the new thing. There's a button up here called Discover Sources. So let's say I was doing this on the Boston Tea Party. And again, I've got a bunch of my content that I've added in, whether it's my slideshows or documents or whatever. But what if I wanted to flesh it out a little bit more? I could click Add, and then I could click Discover Sources. I can now just describe what this notebook is supposed to be about. So this notebook is all about the Boston Tea Party. So I could put that in there and say, okay, let's submit that. And Google is now going to search for relevant resources that are freely available online, whether it is articles, whether it's PDFs, whatever it might find. And if I so choose, I can add those into this particular notebook. Now I can add them all, or I can just pick and choose which ones I want to add. If I like them all, that's great. Boom. Now it is fleshing out, and I have a much more detailed collection here of resources. So now when I have a conversation, it's pulling from, 20 resources rather than 10 or whatever the case was. So this is a really nice way to be able to flesh out the core content. Always be sure, though, that whatever you add in is something that you do find to be valuable. You want to make sure that you're adding in good resources there, but it's a nice way to be able to find them. Now, that was one of the updates on that blog post. The other was that if you do upload PDFs, which you've always been able to do, just a quick heads up, you can now upload PDFs that include images and graphs, and it can process those. In the past, NotebookLM was only grabbing the text from the PDF. Now, if you upload a PDF that has charts and graphs and images in it, it is able to process those as well. So that's very nice. Speaking, though, of NotebookLM, another really big announcement was that it has now moved into being a core service. Same thing for the Gemini app. The same blog post shows up down in the Gemini section, but both NotebookLM and the Gemini app are now core services with enterprise-grade data protection for all education customers, not just for paying customers, not just for those with the add-on. Everybody, including fundamentals, everybody now has NotebookLM and the Gemini app as core services, which means they're protected just like all the other core services. So that would be things like Gmail and Google Drive and Google Classroom. What that means is it brings so many data privacy. Whoops, my phone is always. Hold on a second. My phone loves to try to answer questions here when when I'm on. I need to find a way to turn that off so that it doesn't try to answer questions when I'm doing these meetings. I don't know if you guys could hear that in the background, but it always hears me talking. So let's talk a little bit about what these data privacy protections are. I've added in 2 links here that give you a little bit more fleshed out details on if you're using NotebookLM, if you're using the Gemini app, what actually is being protected now that it's a core service. Well, if you pop open these 2 links here, these will take you out to some help pages from Google where you may have to poke around a little and expand a few things out, but it does go into, well, what is included in this now that these are core services? And it talks about things like this, how any interaction you have is going to stay within your organization, that Gemini does not share your content outside of your organization. Things like how, the content's not going to be used by anybody else. No human's going to review it. It's not going to be used to train future models, things like that. This other link, very similarly, you can go in and expand these out where it says something like, how does Google protect my Gemini data, which now applies to NotebookLM as well. And again, same sort of thing. It talks about how it won't be used to train models. It won't be reviewed by humans. It stays within your organization. All of your data protections are applied to it. If you've got data loss prevention rules, they're going to apply to it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that goes a long way, I think, to really help schools feel a lot more confident using NotebookLM and Gemini. Basically, the way I like to say it is this: if you feel comfortable putting data into your Google Drive, if there's something you would type up in a Google document, it's the same protections now. You could take anything you would type into a Gmail message, a document, a slideshow. If you were to put that into NotebookLM or Gemini, it is going to fall under the same data protection as what is in your Gmail and in your Drive. Now, always, always, always follow the guidance of your school district. Make sure you are following their data privacy rules. The point is, though, that the very robust data privacy we have for Gmail and Drive now applies to NotebookLM and Gemini. So very, very encouraging for schools.
Eric, would that NotebookLM data also be in Vault?
I did not catch that it was in Vault. Good question. I know Gemini is, because some people asked that later. I'm going to have to poke a stick at that one, John. I do not know. When I go to Vault, which I'll show you here shortly because somebody asked about that, we will take a look at that. It specifically says the word Gemini. It does not say NotebookLM, even though NotebookLM is using Gemini in the background. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So we'll have to poke a stick at that and see. Speaking of Gemini, though, let's finish up what's new by hitting some of these latest Gemini updates. Now, the first one I didn't bold because there really wasn't a date to it, but I am going to mention it. And that is Google has actually put out a call for educators to share how they've been using Gemini. And so this is directly from Google. If you follow this link, it'll take you out to this form. Basically, Google is saying, hey, we want to know, what are folks doing with Gemini? How have you been using Gemini for teaching and learning? We would love to hear your best suggestions. And so you can come in here and fill out this form and submit this. And what they're going to do is they're working on putting together like this really big collection that people can then turn to get ideas and inspiration on, oh, hey, that's a great way to use Gemini. They put an example in here. If you click this link to show you, it's going to be something like, a big slideshow with an example of how somebody could, might have used Gemini. Now, this one's just a demo to show you what it might look like. That's what they're hoping to build by the time this is all done. So in the meantime, hey, please, if you're using Gemini in a way that you think is valuable to support teaching and learning, pop open this form, fill it out, submit it, and you might be a part of that awesome collection. They say they are sending out a little Gemini goodie to all the ideas that get chosen as well. So that's awesome. All right. So let's see what other new things came up with Gemini. Here's one, introducing audio overviews inside of Gemini. So, John, you were just talking about audio, and we were just mentioning audio in a couple of situations, how audio is now going to get added to docs. And we've always talked about how audio is inside of NotebookLM. That's just a big part of it, how you can generate an audio overview for content inside of NotebookLM. Well, guess what? Audio overviews are now coming to the Gemini app. So basically, when you're talking to Gemini, you'll now have the ability to generate audio overviews of certain things, not everything, not every conversation, but certain things. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let me pull up Gemini here real quick, and I'll just show you the idea here. So when I go into Gemini, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see that a little bit better there. There's at least two ways for sure to trigger the audio overview. One way is to upload files. If you upload a file from your computer or from your drive. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to upload a file from my computer. I'm just going to grab this PDF. So I'm uploading a PDF to Gemini. Look what happens. As soon as I do that, I get this button that says generate audio overview. So right from Gemini, if I add a file, I can now generate an audio overview based off of that file. basically just like NotebookLM. It really is the same thing. It is doing the same thing. You're giving it a file or multiple files, and it's generating an audio overview. Now, the other place that you can do this is if you do deep research, and we'll talk about deep research here in just a little bit. That is coming up in the updates here, but that's the other place. So whether you have it generate deep research or whether you upload a file, so documents, slideshows, and deep research reports will all have the generate audio overviews option available there. So that, and again, that's for everybody. Everybody is allowed to do that. Speaking of deep research, let's talk about that. And this is also available to everybody. I'm so excited anytime I see the little bricks here, because that means this is the fundamentals tier. So yes, audio overviews are coming to fundamentals. Same thing with deep research. And this is worth taking a moment to chat a little bit about. So deep research is not new. It's not like, oh, hey, there's this new thing called deep research. We have had deep research for a while in Gemini. Here's the new thing. They've upgraded the model that's behind it. It is now Gemini 2.5 Pro Experimental that is powering deep research. So here's what I mean. If I bring Gemini back over here, and I'll just start this over again. If I were to come here again, and I'm going to go here to 2.5 Pro Experimental, that is their most powerful model. 2.0 Flash is their older model. That's excellent. 2.5 Flash is the newest version of the quick model. 2.5 Pro is the most powerful one. And then I can even go all the way down here and click on deep research with 2.5 Pro, or I can choose the experimental and click on deep research as well. Or I could just click here and say, let's do the 2.5 Pro with deep research. Okay. The point is I can now run what's called a deep research query using the most powerful new model that they've got. So deep research is different from a normal query in that when you drop that in there, you do not get an answer back in 10 seconds or 15 seconds. It's not like a normal Gemini interaction. You're going to get an answer, but it could be 5 minutes. It could be 15 minutes. It could be 30 minutes from now. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to give it a question, and Gemini is going to go search the web and pull in dozens, maybe hundreds of articles. It's going to read them. It's going to research them, and it's going to generate a response. Now, this is not new. They've had this for a while. And when it first came out, it was okay, but it was using the older Gemini model. ChatGPT then rolled out their version of deep research, and it was much better than what Gemini was generating. I would run a deep research with the old version of Gemini. I'd run a deep research with ChatGPT, and I really was impressed by what ChatGPT was creating. Then Google said, no, we're bumping up deep research to 2.5. And I've tried it multiple times since. It is phenomenal. It is so good. It is just amazing what it does. So I tried one of these earlier today because it takes a lot of time. I didn't want to do it live here because it takes too long. And basically I've used this prompt many times. And I like to use this one just because I've done it so many times. It gives me a good comparison. I said, what are the impacts of microplastics on marine ecosystems? So that was my deep research question. And then it went out and it researched. And it researched and it researched and it researched, and it came up with this report. And this report, I think, how many does it say? How many? Let me see if I can find it doesn't give a number there, but it was over 300 websites that it read. It read over 300 websites, and it generated this report, which you can export to Docs, which I did. So here it is in Docs, and it is a 41-page long report. I tell you guys, it is staggering how, and half of it is just the references because it's pulling from so much content. How many was it? Oh, 276. Sorry, it wasn't 300, but still 276 articles and papers that it ended up reading. And it puts together this amazingly detailed report. I've done this with some things that are educational. I've asked it some AI questions. I've done this with stuff just in my personal life. We're wanting to add a new shed to our property. Our shed is old and small and falling apart. So I was like, I asked it, to help me research sheds. It was incredible what it was able to do. It told me all the different things that can be built out of. It found all these local suppliers. It gave me prices, everything, the pros and cons of the whole thing. So if you've never tried this, try it. If you played with deep research when it first came out on Gemini and you weren't impressed, come back and try it again. It is really gone, it's much more powerful than it used to be. Now I see that Krista was asking about, of course, is there still a concern about, the facts? Could it be, could it make mistakes? As always, it's always that's always a possibility. And Google says that right at the bottom there. It says, Gemini can make mistakes, double check it. That is always a possibility. Now, can we run that fact checker? I don't believe it has in this format. I don't believe it has that. I know what you're asking about. When I go to Gemini normally and I ask it a question like, explain photosynthesis or something like that, it will, after it does that, you can click on the button at the bottom where you can have it do a fact check. Good question. I don't know because if I come here and I click, I can say I want to double check the responses. That's a nice feature built into just the normal chat, where then it'll go through and it'll color code everything. And it will give you websites to go out and research those things on your own and compare what the website says to what Gemini said. In the deep research model, I do not believe that's the case. I don't believe there's an option to do that. But here's the point. They've already built that in over here. So for every one of these things, if you click, it's giving you the sites that it researched. It's telling you, and these are little these little superscripts here are for, all the footnotes basically. And so, yes, it is doing that already. So you don't really have to click your own button to tell it to do the fact check. All of this has been basically used in this process. It's a little different than a normal Gemini query, because when I ask Gemini to explain photosynthesis, it's not researching it on the web. It's generating it from its own training. When I do deep research, it is combining its own training with 279 articles, and it's building this from that. So yes, you are getting that all of the sources are here for you to verify that information. So nevertheless, go ahead, John.
So a while back, when I was beginning the whole explaining what AI was to the teachers that we work with, I came across an article that talked about the impact that this kind of AI was going to have on research assignments and the way that a lot of teachers have conducted those in the past. And it was calling this particular thing that we're looking at here extractive AI, where it's actually extracting information from existing sources and is able to cite it, and said that it was really going to be a game changer. So I think that was a good question that we had. Can you check it? But this is not really going to be subject to hallucination. It is the ability for AI to find credible sources for you and then to put those into a format. So I think the teacher, the value of the teacher at this point is going to be analysis of this output. Is this output good? Is it accurate? Is it answering the question that you want? And so it presents a whole lot of challenges then for a language arts teacher as to how they are then going to have their students use these kinds of tools.
And that's a really good point, John. We will constantly be needing to um, reevaluate the directions we give for assignments, the expectations we have for students, what is acceptable, what is not, what can you do with AI, what can't you do with AI, how can we monitor it? Because it's a moving target. You're right. It's not like, oh, hey, we figured out our AI policies. Let's carve them in stone and just roll them out and say, that's it. Those are the policies. Because here's a good example. AI is constantly evolving. A year ago, this would not have been a concern. It would have been that the AI is generating something and it's got these hallucinations or whatever. Now it's, oh, now it's doing this deep research and it's generating content that is, much more reliable. And so now AI has evolved and we need to be able to adjust to that. So you're totally right there. This is why we do these meetings, is to try to keep everybody up to date on, okay, well, what can you do with AI now? Be aware of its abilities. I do think what you mentioned, though, John, was really good to explain how this is different than what we've seen in the past. And so, yeah, I don't know that here. This is probably not necessary to do a drawing, but I'll just try to summarize what you were saying there. The old-fashioned approach of a large language model, an LLM, the idea is that, this is Chat GPT or this is Gemini. And basically what it's going to have here is the pre-trained data. So this is what it's been trained on. And when you ask it a question, any question that you put in, so you've got a question, you submit your question to it, it uses this pre-trained data, and then it generates, an answer over here. Now, that is the old model of doing that. What we're looking at now is saying, okay, it's not just the pre-trained data. It has the ability now to do this other option here where it goes out and it's going to do some deep research. And so now, we're taking our prompt. Yeah, it still has pre-trained data, but now it's pulling in 279 scientific articles about this, and it's using that data in conjunction with what it knows to generate the results that it comes up with here. So, and again, this is not the end result. It's going, there's going to be more. There's going to be more advanced systems that do even more than this, but that's the step that we're at right now.
And if people are interested in reading some more about this, if they just Google extractive AI, and I'll put it in the chat, you'll find all kinds of articles that talk about it as being something that is quite impactful. And we're starting to see it now with deep research.
Yes, absolutely. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's do this. What was left? I think we had a couple more things. So the next one is about generating videos with Gemini. So this one at the moment is only for the paid add-on. So just be aware, unfortunately, they have not rolled this out to the free tiers yet, or even the paid tiers. It's the add-on tier. It's the one where you have to pay for that. So I can demonstrate it. I do pay for Gemini, so I can show what this is like. I'm hoping, like with a lot of these other things, when deep research first came out, it was only paid. Now it's free. Gems were paid. Now gems are free. A lot of things. File upload was paid. File upload is now free. I'm hoping soon that this will be free as well. But here's the idea. So what we can do is we can go to Gemini and we can ask it to generate a video for us. And I did this. Let me pull it over here. I'm going to find it real quick. I've got it on a different account there. There we go. So what I did was I went in here and I chose VO2. So VO2 is the video generation model. And I put in a description of what I wanted. And so I was saying, maybe I'm teaching students about ancient Rome, and I want to have a video that shows daily life in a bustling public square, and so you can put in the prompt that you want, and then it generates that. Now, if it's hard to see that video, I did put it in a bigger tab here. Let me find my bigger tab. I'll pull it over here and I'll play it for you there. I can actually put it on loop so you can see a little bit better. I can actually make it go full screen if that helps. So this is what it generated, and I mean, I'm sure if I look long enough and I really try hard, I'm going to find an error somewhere, a little glitch, something that's not quite right. But for the purpose of being able to maybe help my students understand what, a scene from ancient Rome might have looked like, it does a nice job of bringing that to life, or whatever it is I'm wanting to illustrate there. Now, as a little bit of a tip for you, if you don't feel comfortable generating these prompts, I actually used Gemini to help me with that. So I kind of cheated on that. So here's what I did. I went to regular Gemini and I said, hey, create a prompt for a text to video, create a prompt for a text to video generator to make an 8-second long video of a scene from daily life in a public square of ancient Rome. And yeah, that's where I got my prompt from. It said, oh, sure thing, and so it fleshed out a much more detailed prompt that then I went over and plugged in and said, okay, let's plug that in and let's generate that video. So that can be a nice way to, just give the AI the rough sketch of what you're wanting and let it kind of flesh it out. So the point is, folks, video's coming. It might just be in the paid version now, but it's coming. All right. Speaking, though, of things being paid and how free is a good thing, hey, college students are now in a good spot. So it turns out Google is allowing college students to get the paid version of Gemini AI for free for the next year. ChatGPT did a similar thing, but I think they only ran it through the end of this school year. Google says you actually get it till next school year. So any U.S. college student can fill out the form and it will be good through the spring semester of 2026. And so this includes Gemini Advanced. So deep research, Gemini Live, Canvas, video generation with VO2, what we just did, the video generation, yes. NotebookLM Plus, Gemini baked into docs and sheets and slides. Whisk, which is another image and video generation tool that uses VO2 in the background. So and 2 terabytes of storage in their drive. So if you know a college student, let them know. I mean, there's no reason not to take advantage of this. This is going to give them a solid year of using these tools at no cost. So that's fantastic. Good stuff there. Oh, and yes, Miss Lee did mention, heads up, the maximum time limit on the videos is 8 seconds. That is correct. Yes. That's why when I did when I asked Gemini to make the prompt for me, I specifically said I wanted a prompt that would be good for an 8-second long video, because I didn't want it to describe a scene that was unrealistic for 8 seconds. Like, putting in all these things. I said, okay, give me a prompt for an 8-second long video. That is correct. Yes. At the moment, VO will only do 8 seconds at a time, but you can do, again, multiple videos. And then I think this is the last thing I've got in the what's new. We're going to then move into show and tell and Q&A. But the last thing I've got is a quick article here about how the Gemini app is coming soon to kids. Now, this is not new. We'd heard about this last month. We talked about this last month. Actually, this was the article we used last month when we were talking about it, where in this article from Google, it mentioned that coming soon, Gemini would be coming to younger users, including school accounts, that soon younger students' accounts would be allowed to be turned on with the Gemini app. Well, this article basically from 9 to 5 Google said an email just went out. I did not get this email because I don't use it in this capacity, but an email went out to parents saying that coming soon, they're going to be able to turn on Gemini for their children using the family link tool that families can use to manage their children's access to technology. So nothing new for us as educators yet, but it just shows one more step forward that, yep, they are starting to roll this out. Looks like they might be starting with parents first. But the point is, soon we will have apparently the option to enable Gemini for students under the age of 13. It currently is 13 and above. With this, now under the age of 13, parents can let those students use it through the Family Link app. And then I don't know what Google means by soon, but here they said soon school accounts. For school accounts, administrators will be able to manage Gemini access for younger students soon. So we will see, but just be aware we are inching closer toward that. Woo, all right, that was a lot of stuff there. We are going to move on to show and tell and Q&A, but John, did we miss anything? Anything from what's new in Google that we should circle back around, clarify, or comment on?
I don't. Yeah, I think you covered it excellently, as you always do. We have some feedback in the chat about it, and welcoming somebody from Sweden. So I think we have about 53 people that are with us live right now, Eric.
Excellent. Well, nice. Hey. Well, very good. Well, let's keep on moving then. Again, if you guys have questions or comments on any of these things, please throw them in the chat or add them as a comment in here. But let's move on. We're going to head over to the last two sections, show and tell and Q&A. So just as a heads up, show and tell is where we share some of the cool things we've come across recently that didn't fit in the normal updates. There is a section here called GEG Community Show and Tell. You are absolutely welcome to add things to that. We would love for people to share cool things they've come across. And then we'll also do the Q&A. So here you can add questions and we'll do our best to answer those. So I see a lot of activity in the Q&A today. So I may have to add a few more rows in here in case we need a couple more for people to add additional ones. But we're doing good there. Well, let's start with show and tell. Now, John, I didn't see anything in here for you this month. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I was going to put in a link. I actually found in Gmail. I've been using a plugin. I don't know. It's called Cloud HQ, and they just added a plugin that lets you basically have a chat GPT button that you can select text in the email that you're writing and then have it rewrite it for you. So okay. I've been experimenting with that, hoping that eventually Gemini will have that feature inside of Gmail, so that because that's part of my probably my methodology for writing emails now is I do a brain dump that is usually fairly inelegant, and then I have AI help me make it a little bit more elegant. So that's having the ability to do that right inside of my email client rather than having to copy paste into your AI tool of choice. It has been handy. So I've been testing that out, and it's a plugin that you can install. I haven't used it a lot yet, but I may mention it next time we're together if I find it to be a useful tool.
Well, that's great. And so for what it's worth, when it comes to Gmail, there probably are a number of add-ons and plugins that can do that sort of thing. And hopefully this is one that's going to work really well for you. Be aware that is what Google includes in the paid version of Gemini. So if you're doing the paid version of Gemini, you actually do have that built right into Gemini to Gmail. So when I'm in Gmail, I have a help me write option where I can say something like, an email to parents encouraging student reading at home. Something like that. And so it will then generate that. And if I like it, that's great. I can, I can insert that. I can say that's fine, that's good, or I want to recreate it, or I want to refine it, make it shorter, longer, formalized, whatever. If I like it, I can drop it in. And then, of course, I can go in and I can tweak it from there. So that is something that is built in to Gmail if you are using the paid version of Gemini. It's also built into Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Meet, but it does show up here inside of
Now,
Gmail as
if you
well.
have Education Plus, does that mean that you get that too?
No, 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 no. So again, just for clarification, remember the icons. So that's this one here, the
Oh,
paid version of. So what we're talking about is the Gemini add-on. So
oh,
correct. This is free. These are all paid tiers. This is a completely separate additional cost called the Gemini add-on. And that's what gets you all of those. Everywhere you see the little robot here, those are all of those kind of things, and that is one of them. That is one of the things. Earlier when I showed in Google Slides how I was creating an image of a cat on a skateboard, that's that as well. It's Gemini embedded inside of all of your Google tools. Yeah. All right. Well, John, definitely keep playing with that one and see what you think, and would love to hear your thoughts on that in the future. Well, Stephanie and Sarah are not with us today, but as always, they do have Sarah's weekly newsletter and Stephanie's Google group. Please consider connecting with them to stay in the loop on all the great things they share. I do have some things from the last month. I'll keep this brief. I won't go into great depth on these things, but I do want to talk about a couple of quick things in my show and tell. As a reminder, I do share typically once a week my EdTech links of the week. You can follow the link that you see here, which will take you out to the page that has all of them on there. So you can see like the one from this week, and going back weeks and weeks and weeks for years and years and years that I've been doing that. I also typically do a blog post for those each week. So when you're on my Control-Alt-Achieve site, for example, here was the EdTech links from this week, and you can go in and see those all fleshed out in more details there as I share those out. And of course, I share those out through my newsletter as well. You can always sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get that from me typically once a week, sometimes every other week if it's a really busy time of year and I'm not able to get it out, but I try to shoot for once a week. So I do share out a lot of resources. I want to encourage you to find whatever way is best for you to continue to access those. Here's a couple of the things that I've been sharing recently. So one was I put together a prompt that you could use with Gemini or ChatGPT or anything to create interactive choose your own adventure stories. So if that's something that you think would be fun for your students, I think it is a great use of AI. You can follow that link that'll take you out to that blog post. And basically here is the prompt. It's a big one. This is not a small prompt, but that's why it's all there for you. You can copy and paste this. This is a prompt that can be used to generate an interactive, playable, choose your own adventure style game that you could do as a class activity with your students. Basically, you're going to put in things like how many rounds, how many paragraphs, how many choices, the topic for the story, who the main character of the story is, what are some of the key objectives. Do you want to have some questions at the end to evaluate their comprehension? And that's pretty much it. This runs through how to do that. And then I did several examples. Like I did one, life of a bee. So, basically we said, this is grade 5 students. We're learning about bees, so, incorporate these key things into the story. And boom, there you go. You can now, chat with the AI on a choose your own adventure story all about the life of a bee. Then I did the book The Giver, same sort of thing. And then I did the Oregon Trail, of course, a classic one there as well. So you can try out any of these. You can just copy and paste them into your own AI of choice. You can grab the prompt and modify it yourself. Or you can even just click on, I preloaded some of these. Like if you wanted to do the life of the bee, you could click here to try it out yourself, and it'll give you round one, and you can pick it up and keep going from there. So that is one of the recent posts that I put up. Another recent thing I shared was my session I did on AI for librarians. So this I have not recorded. There's not a video for this one. I do intend to do that at some point, but I did go ahead and share out, at least for now, the resource document and the slideshow and some select key resources from that session. So this is a session I put together for the recent conference we had down in Columbus for the ITCs. The ITC conference, I did a session for librarians, and so I put this together for that and just wanted to share that out with everybody. You can access the resource document here. You can access the slideshow as well. It covers things like useful prompts for librarians. I've got, dozens of useful prompts, but it covers lots of other things as well, like using Diffit, how now Diffit supports novels and chapter books. Talked about a really cool tool called Tulpa Search, which is a great way to find books. Talked about using AI to generate book trailers, whether you're making audio trailers or if you're making video trailers. And then we talked about using custom chatbots for book explorers, as well as custom chatbots to help students find books they might like. So that is all available for you there as well. We already mentioned the upcoming webinars, so we'll skip over those. And I do have some recordings from some things recently. I was on a podcast and I was on an AI roundtable. Both of these are recorded and you can watch those. The last thing I wanted to share is not something I've created, it's something I came across. So I am going to take just a quick moment to give a shout out to this new Google Docs add-on, new-ish Google Docs add-on called AI Trust You. So it's sort of a play on I Trust You, but it's AI Trust You. So this is from a school district, actually. So the LBUSD Middle and High School developed this add-on, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you. But basically what it comes down to is if you, as a teacher, want to be very clear to your students what they are allowed to do with AI on a particular assignment, this add-on is there to help you with that. And I think that's a very valuable thing to say, okay, here is your writing assignment, here is your project, whatever. For this particular assignment, this is what's okay, this is what is not okay. I think that's very helpful to be clear to our students what is expected, what is allowable, what is encouraged, what is not allowable. And then on the flip side, the same thing for our students. When they turn in an assignment, we would like to encourage them to be transparent on their use of AI, citing how they used AI, letting us know for this assignment, I used AI for brainstorming, or I used AI to get feedback. So both of those things, I think, are a key piece of a healthy AI policy in a classroom. Teachers being clear about what's appropriate and students being transparent about how they used AI. Well, this add-on basically just is designed to remove the friction from that. So I'll show you how it works. So let me start by, I'll just create a blank Google document here. Maybe try that again, Eric. There we go. So I'll just create a blank Google document here, and we'll pretend we'll pretend this is like, some amazing assignment that I've got here. It's not. It's just a blank document, but it could be an awesome assignment that I've got created for my students. From my Google Doc, though, what I would do is I would go to my extensions menu and I would choose AI Trust You from the add-ons list, and then I would choose Build AI Truth and Trust Statement. Now, when I click on that, This is the same experience for a teacher and a student. The difference is right here. If I pick I'm a student or if I pick I'm a teacher, the students use this and the teachers use this, or just one or the other uses it. You don't both have to use it, but I mean, you both can use it. So I'm going to say I'm a teacher. And then basically it says, okay, can my students use AI on this assignment? And again, I realize I don't actually have an assignment there, but we'll pretend I do. And I'll say, yes, they are allowed to use AI in this assignment. Then it says, what services can they use? I may say, well, you know what? We're allowing students to use Gemini, and we're allowing them to use, let's say, school AI, and let's say we're allowing them to use Brisk Teaching or something like that. You get the idea. I'm just picking those as examples. Then you hit next, and then it says, okay, well, how can they use it on this assignment? Well, for this assignment, they can generate ideas. I'd love for them to get feedback. If they need things simplified, that's okay. If they need things translated, that's okay. And you know what? They can ask the AI to help them make connections. And that's it. So there you go. I can now generate my truth and trust statement, and I can then copy it to the clipboard and put it into anything, Canvas, Schoology, whatever, or I can just paste it, boom, right into this document. Now, again, I'm pretending I actually had an assignment here, but the point is this would now be at the top of the assignment. So when the student goes in, they have a very clear guideline. You are allowed to use AI. Here's the tools you can use, and here's the ways you're allowed to use it. So it's explaining these are the acceptable uses. Now, on the other end of that, let's say the student has actually done their assignment. So this is my famous George Washington report that I use all the time with mistakes in it and stuff. So a student could come here to their George Washington report and say they now want to put in how they used AI. So guess what? They do the same thing. Extensions, AI trust you, build truth and trust statement, and they say, I'm a student. They hit next. Did you use AI for this assignment? Yes, I did. What did you use? I ended up using Gemini. Okay, awesome. What percentage of your work did AI help with? Say, well, I'd say it was helping with about 20% of my work. This is, of course, just an estimate. And then how did it help you? Well, I used it to give me feedback on what I wrote. It helped me generate some ideas, and it helped me make some connections. And I hit generate. It creates that statement. I paste it in. And so this could be something we would expect every student to do. Now, I think this is great. I think this is great. We've been recommending doing this sort of thing manually for the last 2 years that AI has been out. I've been telling people, have students put a blurb at the bottom of their document or their last slide of their slideshow or something that says, here's how I used AI. Well, this is a very easy to use add-on that does not require any kind of login. It's not collecting any student information. Nobody's providing, anything. It's just generating this that you're copying and pasting into your document or anywhere you want. You could put it into Canvas or Schoology or Slides or whatever. And I think it's pretty flexible. It allows you to pick from a wide enough range of options that I could see this being a really helpful tool for teachers to make it clear how to use AI and for students to be clear about how they used it. So anyway, there you go. So wanted to share that one. I was excited about it. Curious what people think about that. If anybody's used it, please keep us in the loop on how that has gone for you. But AI trust you. Here is the link to install it. Basically, that's going to take you out to the Google Marketplace to install it. They also are asking for some people to test pilot it. So that's not required, but you can sign up your district if you want to be part of the pilot of this as well.
And you don't need Gemini add-on to get that, right?
Correct. This has nothing to do with the Gemini add-on at all. This is just a regular add-on, just like you would install in Google Docs for other things. Like, I mean, I've got a bunch of add-ons here. This would be, you know, like Docs Tools or Fun Text or Pixabay free images or whatever. Yeah, this would be again from the marketplace. So as a district, you would have to approve this, you know. So as a district, you would have to go to the admin console. You would have to go to your marketplace apps, and you would have to add AI Trust You as an approved add-on that staff and or students are allowed to install. If you say, hey, we don't want to use it with our students, that's okay. Just approve it for your staff, and your staff can use it to make those helpful little statements about how you can or can't use AI. If you want to use it with students, turn it on for students as well. Nicole did ask about what did it mean when it said free of charge with paid features. Nicole, I have not been able to find any additional information on that. I saw that as well. I have run across nothing that has cost any money. I don't know if it's because they're piloting it now and later on there might be something. At the moment, I have run across nothing that costs. So unfortunately, I can't speak to that. I don't know about that. Having said that, now that they've done that, I guarantee you there's going to be 10 more. There's going to be 10 more that pop up, you know, that are going to do that a very similar thing, you know. So, but the folks who have created this, I really appreciative of what they have been doing to lead the charge with this. So I really appreciate the work they put into this. All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, that's all of my show and tell. So I don't see anything in the community show and tell. So we're going to pop over to Q&A, and that's where we're going to finish things up. We're going to see what questions came in today, and hopefully we can provide you guys with some helpful answers here. So let's try it out and see. So the first question that we got today was, is there a place where we can give suggestions for Gemini updates? When using Gemini Canvas, it generates complex math equations, but when you export or copy to Google Docs, the symbols don't keep the math type formatting. There's not an option to download as a PDF. The only solution I found is to screenshot it. Okay, so I did go ahead and submit this to the Gemini team. As a trusted tester, I do have access to the Gemini team. So last night I sent them an email, and I have not heard back from them yet. At least I don't think so. Here, I'll check my email and see if I heard back from them. I'll look on a different screen here. No, I have not heard anything back yet. Okay, so I don't have an answer back from them, but I have informed the team about this issue. But I did work on a workaround for you at the moment. So let me show folks what's going on here. So here's the idea. In Gemini, you can use what's called the Canvas feature. Now, again, everybody has access to this. This is not a paid thing. Everybody can do this. Here, I'll just pull it up normally so you can see it real quick, and then I'll pull that back over. If I go to Gemini, it's right down here. It says Canvas. It's just this button says Canvas. If you click the Canvas button, anytime you now ask it a question. So I think, what did I ask it? I think I said something like, here, let me grab this real quick. I said something like, generate a math worksheet on simplifying polynomial fractions. And I clicked the Canvas button. When you do that, by clicking the Canvas button, what you're saying is, I want to have over here on the side, I want to have this Canvas area where instead of just getting an answer down below, it's more of a special formatted area. And that is an area where you can go in and change the text formatting as well. You can come in and type and edit, and you can ask follow-up questions, and it will make adjustments to it. So this is really good for generating a worksheet or a flyer or something like that. This is also really good for coding. Canvas is used if you're doing coding because it will allow you to run the code inside of the Canvas. The problem, and you guys, you're absolutely right, whoever submitted this, is unfortunately, if you're doing math, when you try to send this to Docs, you lose the math formatting. So see how nicely this is all formatted here? If I say export to Docs, it will send it to Docs, but give it a second. I lost all the math formatting. All my exponents are no longer exponents. They're just regular numbers there. So what was perfectly formatted now is not. And there's no easy way around that. There's not like a export to PDF or something like that. So I let them know that. Now, again, this works great if you're not doing math. If you're creating other types of worksheets, it looks beautiful under normal conditions. It's just at the moment, yeah, it is not handling the math correctly. So here's my workaround. And I mentioned here, I describe what you can do as a workaround for right now. So my workaround until Google addresses this is take your mouse, select all the content that's there so that it's selected, and then open up your print dialog. Now I'm on a Windows computer, so it's Control P. It might be Command P if you're on a Mac, but if I go Control P, that puts me into the print dialog. From the print dialog, go to the advanced settings over here and say you only want to print the selection. Because I selected that text ahead of time by saying I only want to print the selection, now I can print it. And I can print it on paper, or I could save it as a PDF. Either way, boom, there we go. Now it has just saved that. And so now if I try to open that up, let me see if I can find that. Let me grab it. There it is. So there's the PDF, and it preserves all of the formatting for you there. So that's the only idea I have at the moment as a workaround, is as long as you select it and you print just the selection, you can get it, at least for now. But Google is aware that this is an issue, and hopefully they will fix that. So we'll see what they have to say. All right. Next up, if we turn on Gemini for our students, is there a place in the investigation tool that we can investigate if necessary in regards to results gathered from Gemini? So this is my response, is I know Vault does this. I did not find anything in the investigation tool. So I tried that first. I went to the investigation tool. I could not find anything in there that was specific to Gemini. Maybe they're going to add that at some point. Right now, no, there was nothing in there. But Vault does have that. And so I did test that out. So let me find, I got too many tabs here, guys. Give me a moment to find it. There it is. And again, I'm not going to show you any sensitive data. This is just me, just from what I was doing today. So here's the idea. If I go into Google Vault and I'll say I want to edit my query, and again, this is just my demo stuff. This is not any real staff or students or anything like that. This is just my demo account. I can come in and I can say, I want to search Vault for Gmail, Drive, Groups, Chats, Calendar, or Gemini. Gemini is now inside of Google Vault, vault.google.com. And Vault is used to record basically everything that happens inside of your Google Workspace. And it's mostly because if we get a public records request, if we get a public records request, we have to legally, we have to provide this stuff. If there's like email exchanges, the lawyers can say, give us all the emails between this date and that date or something like that. Well, Gemini is now in there as well. So I can say, yeah, let's do a Google Vault search for Gemini. And I can specify the accounts. I'm just using my demo trainer account, and I can specify the dates, and then I can hit search. And so now we should see, there we go, explain photosynthesis. There's that one. Here's the create a prompt for the text to video generator. Here's the, what are the impacts of microplastics on marine ecosystems? And I can see a pretty good amount of content here. I haven't been able to go in deeper. Like if I click on it, it doesn't pop it open like into a new tab. So at the moment, it appears that just hovering over it is my best option. It shows me what the prompt was, and it shows me the response. It does cut it off at a certain point, though. Like it only goes so far, and then you get the little 3 ... things there. So I don't know. I was kind of hoping there'd be a way that I could get a little bit more details, but at least it's something for now to get us started. So that would be my suggestion until we find out other options there, is we can at least use Google Vault to a degree. Speaking of that, somebody said, can teachers do that? Can teachers monitor those? Again, like I said, other than Vault, I don't know a way to do it. And I don't think most schools give teachers access to Vault, because Vault really does have access to all the content. And so typically it's going to be somebody who's an administrator or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe that's coming. I think that would be very valuable, that if, Google wants for younger students, especially, to be using Gemini, important that we have ways to monitor that. Speaking of which, somebody asked, will Gemini flag students with alerts? What if they run a search that has some troubling keywords in it when they're talking to Gemini? And again, I am not aware of anything specific about that. All I can do is point to that article we already mentioned earlier. Remember, we talked about how in this article, Google said, coming soon, younger students would have access to Gemini, and they have the phrase, bringing Gemini to younger users with supervision tools and controls for parents and educators. I don't know what that means. They have not specified what that means. What are supervision tools? What are controls? Are those just for the parents? It says parents and educators. So do we get them as well? What are they? So I don't know. We're just going to have to hang tight and see. What's next? Can you add pictures to the stories that you create and read along? I do not know. I don't think so. I'd have to open that back up again. Apologies. I think, do I still have it open? I may have closed out of that. I'm not sure if I still have that one open here. Let me see. Do I? I'm looking over here on my tabs. I don't see it. I may have to go back in the classroom. But when I was doing that earlier, here, let's grab that and pull that back over. So when I was in classroom and I went into the demo class and I went to create an assignment and I said, let's go to read along. And from read along, I said I wanted to create something. No, I don't see an option to add images. Yeah, it's just title and text. I don't think so. I would guess at the moment the answer is probably no, but not yet. Not from what I can see. All right. And then I have not even read all of these, so apologies. These are questions I have not seen yet. I watched a video from CDW about licensing changes coming to education licensing in 2025. They mentioned that this would start in February. I still haven't seen anything change on my account. Anything you know about this? Here's a link that might show the video if interested. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'll be happy to take a look at that and dig into that after the meeting and see.
Eric,
go ahead.
We are looking into get licensing for Northern Buckeye, and I did talk to somebody from CDW at the Ohio Educational Technology Conference, and I think actually it's the end of this month is when they are changing the pricing model for Education Plus and the paid Google tiers. And so my understanding is that the new pricing comes into effect in beginning of May. So that's the most recent thing that I knew about, and we have been talking to them as recently as a week ago.
So I apologize. I have not caught that. I probably should take a close look at that. We do renew ours, each year. At least I think we're on a year-by-year basis. I know at first we bought like 3 years or whatever, and I think we're on a year-by-year basis now. So I'm probably going to need to look at that because that's going to be important. We don't come due till I think like August or September or something like that. So maybe that's why it's not been on my radar. So whoever put this in there, thank you for alerting us to that. John, do you know, is it like massive changes? Is it like, are they just adjusting
Well,
how they calculate the formulas for the
you know,
prices?
I asked you about the Gemini add-on, and my understanding was that they were going to include Gemini with some of the tiers. That was one of the
Really?
they were
Oh my
talking.
gosh.
That's
Well,
that's
that would be very, now they've done that for business. So
right.
I can tell you that. I do know that. If you are purchasing Google Workspace for business, Gemini is now included in business workspace, but they raised the price on business workspace before they did that. So it went up, not by an equivalent. It wasn't like, because I think it's usually like $20 a month for the Gemini add-on. They didn't like bump it up $20 a month, but they did bump it up.
Right.
So I apologize, folks. I did not realize that that might be happening. I definitely need to dig in and explore that, because if that's the case, that would be very interesting to see
Yeah.
what that might look like.
Well, and I'm not going to say that that's there was something like that, but I had a lot of conversations at that conference. But I do know that we are waiting until well, after tomorrow, and then we can look again at the licensing. And I'm excited for my team, at least, for us to be getting the Education Plus licensing, so that we can have access to read aloud and all these
Oh yeah,
wonderful things that you've been showing us this afternoon.
absolutely. All right, all right. Well, um, I'm gonna have to explore that. So thanks for bringing that up.
No problem.
All right. Next question. When participating in Google webinars, they use goo.gl shorteners still. Why did the ability to use those go away, or can we in a different? You know, I agree with you. So goo.gl used to be a URL shortener option that Google provided, similar to Bitly, similar to tinyurl, tiny.cc. You notice I use Bitly a lot. So, like, our whole thing with our website, for the GEG Ohio, it's a Bitly address, bit.ly/GEG Ohio. So, I used to use the goo.gl shortener, and years ago they told us, sorry, we're shutting this down. But you're right. They didn't actually shut it down. They just turned it off to the public. So they still use it. I agree. I have gone to Google trainings from Googlers, people who work at Google, and they are still using goo.gl shortened addresses. So it still works. They still use it, but no, it's no longer publicly accessible. And I don't know why. I truly don't know why they did that. So I'm sorry. I wish I had a good answer for you. But at the moment, right, we have to use other options, bit.ly or tiny.cc or tinyurl or things like that. It's unfortunate because that was nice, but no. All right. And then looks like Miss Lee was, oops, oh, this one went away. Oh no, I just lost it. Sorry. I clicked on it and it went away. The question was, can we print out this agenda because of the tabs? Can we print it all out in one big thing? I don't think so. That seems to be one of the challenges of tabs. If I'm in my tabs and I come here and I say I want to print this, if I say File, Print, I believe it only prints the tab that you're on.
Right.
That does seem to be a odd limitation. Like if I were here on this tab and I went File, Print, I'm only getting that tab. There really should be an option here that says all tabs. I don't know why that's not an option. Or there should be under print, there should be like print all tabs. So at the moment, I am sorry. That does not seem to be an option. I've noticed that since tabs first came out. If you're trying to print this entire document with every single tab, unfortunately, it looks like they have to be done individually. There's not a way to print all of them. And sorry, I accidentally deleted that. Somebody's wondering why are we using tabs instead of the outline. Mostly just because they were new and we thought they were cool and we wanted to try them out. And so we started using the tabs when they came out as an easier way to organize each of the different sections here. And it was more of a, hey, let's experiment with it. If it ends up that this is not valuable, I am absolutely happy to switch this back into a different format, but we've been doing it for a few months at least to try out the new tabs. And yeah, the printing issue may be, some additional friction that might be a little frustrating, and I apologize for that.
Is it possible to like, if you made a copy of this document, can you say I don't want the tabs anymore and have it go back into one big long document?
Well, I mean, you'd have to go in and do this for every single one of the tabs, though. You'd have to go to the tab, hit the three dots, and say you want to move it back into one of the other tabs.
And so that you could, yes,
it would be a little time consuming, but you could say, I want to make a copy of it, get your own copy. And then after you have a copy, you could take your copy and you could reconsolidate everything. That's a lot of work, though.
I think the suggestion that I saw that somebody had posted online, I did a bit of research, was to save all the tabs as PDFs and then just drag them all together into one PDF, and then you can print that.
Yeah. The answer is Google just needs to change. They just need to change it. When you go to print, there should be an option that you can print all the tabs, that just needs to be an option. Yeah. All right. Well, folks, we are at the end of our time. We have made it to 2 hours, which we don't have an official time that we never go beyond, but 2 hours is kind of that reasonable time we go, I think that's probably enough. So we are going to wrap things up here. Wow. Thank you so much to everybody for hanging with us today. We covered a lot of content, a lot of great questions, a lot of great comments. As always, we want to just thank you for taking the time to be with us. We want to remind you to fill out the sign-in form if you haven't. On the important links tab, there's a spot where you can sign in. That way we have a record of everybody who attended. And then want to remind you that we'll have one more meeting this school year. Our next one, if we go to the GEG Ohio website, let's pop on over to the website, I believe is like May 29th. Let's check. Let's go to monthly meetings. Yes, May 29th at 1 o'clock is our final one. I don't have, the agenda and the video and stuff put in there yet, but I will add those in. And that should do it for this school year. We typically take a break in the summer. Not a whole lot happens in the summer, and people kind of go their own way. And so typically then we pull back together in August. But we hope to see you guys again in May. And please do consider joining the group if you haven't done so already, so that you can continue to communicate in between these meetings. John, anything to add as we wrap up here today?
No, it was great to see 40 plus people hang around with us for 2 hours. So that's always fun, and look forward to next month.
Love it. All right. Well, hey, take care, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. See you soon.